Hi, Stanford fans. Welcome to another Make It Monday. I'm Nan Gerlitz, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Bloomington, Illinois. Welcome to Monday night, right? Or I think Tuesday morning for some of my viewers, because I have some Australian people that watch me, which is awesome. Um, so happy to have you with me. If you're watching live, please go ahead and say hello in the comments. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and comment that you're watching the replay. I love to see who stops by. Facebook and Instagram, all of them will tell you that probably like 90% of live videos are actually watched on replay. So if you're watching the replay, don't feel bad. You're just really in the majority. And I love to have you here as well. So I just pretend I'm still talking to people, even if nobody's on live. So we're okay. Speaking of, if you're on live, if I am on live or not, I had a question last week. Somebody had popped in afterwards and was watching the replay, and she said she didn't know if I was live or not every time that she was watching. So if you're wondering, let me see if I can figure it out. Oh, over here, right up in that corner, you'll see a red box that says live, and it'll also have a count up timer to show you that how long I've been on. So right now it's like a minute 19. So if you see that red box that says live, that means I am indeed live, and you can go ahead and chat real time with me. And if it's not there, then you are watching the replay, and I'm still happy to have you. So, and you can still comment, and I will get back to you. Absolutely. I just won't call you out. So, all righty. So today on Monday's Live, we are doing this fun quote unquote Valentine's card. So all this week on the Facebook page, I have put together some fun cards for Valentine's Day or just whatever day. But these are kind of unconventional Valentines. So if you find yourself like, oh my gosh, in case you were wondering, next Tuesday is Valentine's Day. If you were thinking, oh, I don't have any Valentine's stamps and I don't have time to order them and get them here in time to make a card for my special someone or my kids or my grandkids or friends, coworkers, whatever, because it's not just about couples. I have some tips for you all this week because I am using stamp sets and sayings and stuff that aren't specifically for Valentine's Day or for love or whatever, but you can make them suited to you. So hopefully this will kind of get your brain thinking about what do I have in my stash that I could adapt and make into a card for Valentine's Day if you need one. So, all righty. Let's go ahead and switch the camera down here. There we go. All right. And I'm pretty sure after today, I'm going to have to change my grid paper because I've made a mess of this and I haven't changed it in the last few weeks. So, okay, as always, I have linked a supply list that includes cardstock measurements up in the video description. So you don't have to worry about writing down everything I'm saying and catching measurements. You can click that link afterwards and get all those measurements and the full supply list. You can even order right from that link. Because all of the products that I show you here can be ordered in my online store right there, and that link is also in the video description. So, okay, with that, let me show you what we are using. We are starting with the Watercolor Shapes stamp set today. This is a super fun stamp set that I've now used twice. I used it last week and now I'm using it this week, and I need to get it out more and more. This is a super fun stamp set, but I'm adapting it for Valentine's Day today. And then I've also grabbed our sentiment set Through It Together, which has 21 different sentiments. We're going to use 2 of them tonight. And I also have some alternative cards that are stepped up versions of this card that will use just one of the sentiments. But so this is just a stamp, ink, and paper, a little bit of ribbon. It's a super simple. There's no punches, there's no dies, there's no embossing, anything like that. But if you like to step it up a notch and you don't like super simple, I have 2 stepped up versions, like a middle and then a over the top of the same card to give you an idea of how you can work it to your style. So something for everybody tonight. Okay. For inks, we are using 3 different ink pads. You could definitely get away with 1 or 2, but I really liked the variety. So we are using polished pink, which is one of the in colors. If you get my email newsletter, you'll know that this is one of the ones that is retiring this year. So we always have 5 new in colors come in with every annual catalog. They stick around for 2 years. So we'll have 5 new ones this year and then 5 new ones next year. So every year, 5 of them are going away and retiring, and polished pink is one of those. I will talk more about that in a little bit. We are also using Flirty Flamingo and Petal Pink. So it's a whole pink explosion tonight for the Valentine's Day. Cardstock is obviously very similar because one of the things we love about Stampin' Up! Is color coordination. So we are starting with a Petal Pink card base that is 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, scored at 4 1/4. You guys are a quiet bunch tonight. You go ahead and comment in there if you like. Tell me if you like the colors or if you like something a little different. Not all of my cards this week on the Facebook page will be pinks. Okay, there are some definite different colors. So kind of something for everybody, I think. The next layer we've got is a polished pink layer, and that is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. This one, if you wanted, you could punch out shapes from the middle, you could die cut the middle or things like that because it's going to be covered up mostly. So if you wanted to conserve cardstock and use it for something else, that'll all be hidden. So that's a really good tip, is to punch things out of the middle of your layers. Then the next one, we have a basic white layer, and this one's just a little bit smaller, so we have a teeny edge going around. This one is, I have to think, 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And again, this is all in the link that includes the cardstock measurements. We have another piece of basic white that's our 5 1/4 by 4. That's for the inside. And then we have a thin piece of basic white that is 3/4 inch by probably about 4. I'm not going to need the whole length of it. So, all righty. The only other things we're using besides our basic tools is dimensionals. And yes, I know there's only one lowly dimensional left on here, but I'm going to show you how to get all of your use out of your dimensionals, because don't waste it. And then we are also using our coordinating polished pink ribbon, which of course will be going away soon. So, okay. Before I get into too much of that, I want to pull out my catalog here. I should have marked this page beforehand. Can't believe I don't have it memorized, quite frankly. That is our page with all of our inks. So we have 4 basic color families. We have brights, neutrals, regals, and subtles. And then we have our in colors. So we have 5 that just came out last year. So they'll be hanging around another year. And then we've got these 5 that are leaving us this year. So they came out in 2021. So we've got our polished pink. We've got pale papaya, which I'm going to be very sad to see go. Evening evergreen, soft succulent, and fresh freesia, which is another one of my real big favorites. But I don't get too upset about it anymore. As a demonstrator, I don't keep retired stuff. My motto kind of is, if I can't sell it, I don't keep it and I don't buy it, you know. I still keep trying to convince the stamper man how much money we've saved because, you know, I can go into a craft store and not buy anything. I just shop from my own store. But these colors are going away. So the annual catalog is done the end of April. Now here's the big deal. In March, we should sometime in March get a retiring list. And that'll tell us all of the stamp sets and papers and inks and everything else that's retiring out of this catalog. The problem is, as soon as that hits the World Wide Web, people start going for these colors. So maybe they already have the ink pads, but everybody starts buying out the ink refills and the cardstock and ribbons and things like that to coordinate, because they want to get the most bang for their buck. They want to be able to use their ink pads for years, and they know they won't be able to get these products after they retire. And once that retirement list is published, It is while supplies last. So if you like any of these colors, if you have any of these ink pads, make sure you hit my online store, grab your refills, grab your cardstock, all that type of stuff now. You can, on my online store, you can shop by color and you can shop by the in colors. So it'll show you all of the ribbons, embellishments, designer papers, everything that has those colors in it. And you can decide which things you can't live without. Because like I said, once that retirement list is published, things are while supplies last, and those are always the first things to sell out. So, word of warning to everybody. Okay, there's my little pitch for tonight. So I don't want you guys to be, waking up some morning in April and saying, oh, I really wanted that pale papaya and it's sold out. Can you get me any? And then I have to go searching the internet, and usually it's a no-go. So don't make me do that. Okay. So I think what we're going to do is actually start with our card front today. Weird, not starting with my insides. So what I decided, and this is how I started Friday night with my card. Thank you for all the votes, by the way, this week. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I started with my ovals on this stamp set and thought, well, I could make kind of hearts out of those, right? So that's what I did. And I kind of made my own little designer paper background here. So, blocks. We are going to start with our big oval. So anytime you are doing an all over pattern, I am not great at doing collage stamping. I tend to, I used to at least, get really heavy in certain areas. And then I thought, well, that looks unbalanced or blah, blah, blah. Here's some tips for you if you have the same trouble I did. We're going to start with our Flirty Flamingo. I usually start with my darkest ink because I want to kind of fill that in and say, okay, that's enough of that. And then I'll fill in with the lighter inks, right? You want to start with your larger stamp as well, because that'll take up the most space and you won't be searching later going, where can I fit this in? Because you've used up all the space with your smaller stamps. So start with your largest stamp, start with your darkest ink. And I'm just going to kind of put these at a little bit of an angle. We're going to overlap these ovals so that they make kind of a heart. Kind of cool. So, and when you are making an all-over design like this, it's also good to have some things go off the edge of the paper, as if it was a big sheet of paper and you cut it down, right? Obviously, there's going to be some that you had to cut through. So there's one of them. All right, I think just 2 of those big ones is all I'm going to need. We got the big Simply Chamois out tonight, and I want to tell you, it's really funny to me. I had a friend at class a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to her about the chamois, and she says, what's the lifespan on one of these? And I said, oh, that's funny, I don't know. And then as we were using it, let me get to this side is really bad. If you can see, it's like got kind of holes pitted in it and it's starting to shed, and it was really leaving some bits on our stamps. And so that's when you know that that's dead. That's the only reason this guy is still hanging around. So I could show you. Well, thanks, Betty. That's very nice to know. Betty thought it was designer paper. Isn't that fun? And see, this is the thing. You have cool stamps like this, you can just make your own designer paper. It's super easy. We are going to use our smaller oval here. And now I'm going a little against no, I'm not going to. Strike that. We want to stick with our larger stamp. I'm going to pull out the petal pink because, as I said, you really need to have that, the bigger images in there first, and then your smaller images, you're just filling in the leftover space. So the other thing I like to do, I have found that I'm more successful with, is trying not to line things up. So you're not going to want to stamp things right on top of each other, and you're not going to want to stamp things right next to each other. You want to vary the height and all that kind of stuff, just like a designer series paper. Once again, making sure you're stamping off the edges. And I think we're going to pop one right over here. All right. They almost look like balloons now. Anybody see where I put my chamois? There it is. So yes, this is the size of the full-size chamois, and we actually cut ours in half once so that we could each kind of have our own when we're stamping on Friday nights. We still do have full-size. We both have a full-size chamois now, so it's fine. Everybody's still happy. All righty. Now we will go to our skinnier oval so that we can fill in some of those gaps. Again, let's do that dark color first so we can really see kind of what we're working with. So we're going to go here, and it's okay if things overlap too. I actually didn't overlap that much on Friday night, but I think I will tonight. A little bit of just a tip. And let's do the tops. So something like this where you're overlapping, it's really helpful to keep that cardstock where it is so I can still overlap it on my grid paper and still keep that shape that I'm working with, because otherwise I wouldn't know quite where to stamp that. That seems like enough flirty flamingos, so we'll move to our petal pink. I can close up this one, I think. And so a lot of you might be wondering, like, where I get my ideas. And mostly I get my ideas from just, looking at other demonstrators' stuff and other just regular stampers. I belong to a couple of different groups for card making and things like that. And it's just interesting, you see like an idea, like what I'm going to do next. And you say, oh, I forget about doing that. And so I think Penny said that last week about something that I did on my card. And she said, I forget about that. Yep, so do I. We all do. This is one of the nice things I have always found about stampers is they're super generous with their ideas and instructions and things. So it's really nice. But this was the cool idea that I came across recently, was to not just use your sentiments for, a sentiment, right? But to use it as a background thing too. So I'm taking the With Much Love stamp from this stamp set. I'm going to do my little trick of, I'm going to line my block up with one of the grid lines. Then I'll take my stamp and line it as best as I can up with the bottom of a grid line. Now we're going to grab our polished pink. So on the background, we've got all three colors of our pink. And I'm literally just going to all over this card. Once again, make sure you go off the cardstock. Make sure you're trying to avoid going right across or right on top of each other. So just vary the placement and it will look more natural and less like, less meant, less intentional. That's the word I was looking for. Less meant. That's a silly thing. Here is the other thing that I learned at an event years ago. So you've done this all over stamping, and then you're like this, and you're like, oh, where should I put this? And you can't decide. That means you're done. That means you've done all of the stamping you need to do on the back of that. So how cool is that with our cool little pseudo hearts and our little greetings all over? So fun. Yay! Oh, and here's a good reminder from our friend Betty, friend of the show. Betty had bought some cards from me, some pre-made cards, and so she sends them out to her friends on the regular. And tomorrow is National Send a Card to a Friend Day. So that is amazing. Got them just in time. So I want you all to make sure that you're sending a card to a friend tomorrow, which is February 7th. In case you're watching the replay, I want to make sure you're getting the day right. But every day is a good day to send a card to a friend. So if you missed it, just say you're celebrating late. It's like a belated birthday. Okay. We got all that done. I did forget, however, to stamp my inside. See what happens when I don't do it first? So let's grab our skinny oval, I think. And we will put a little heart on the inside as well. Let's do it in our petal pink, because I like my insides to kind of mimic the outside and coordinate, but I don't like them to be in your face. So, so we will just put a pretty skinny little heart down here. Perfect. So yeah, absolutely love this. I'm going to be looking for more ideas to do with this watercolor shapes stamp set. But it's really fun just as a great background for pretty much any image. So if you don't like to color, this is really nice. You can stamp this in a pretty color and then stamp another like line art image over it in black or gray or something. Be really super pretty. Yes, getting mail besides bills is wonderful. I'm so happy that you and your friends are enjoying the cards because that's what they're there for, right? Love it. Okay. So let's do a little assembly. All right, we're just going to use our Stampin' Seal. I'm going to do that inside piece here. So if you have Valentine's stamps, you absolutely could stamp, Happy Valentine's Day or whatever in the inside. How many Parks and Rec fans do we have in the crowd? Because Galentine's Day is next Monday, the 13th, and that was made popular by Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec. So that is definitely a thing you can celebrate with any of the cards I'm sharing this week as well. If you like to make occasion-specific cards, but you don't necessarily want to spend, a lot of money getting all those supplies, I could recommend our Paper Pumpkin subscription as well, because Paper Pumpkin is usually seasonal. So every year in January, usually, we get a nice Valentine's themed card kit or treat packaging or something, but you get a stamp set with each month. And so the stamp set would have probably Happy Valentine's Day or things that are related like that. So it's a really good way of getting those holiday specific stamps without spending a lot of money. And you get pre-made, pre-designed, pre-cut and scored everything to go along with it with instructions. So it's perfect. Okay, so there's our basic card, which quite frankly, I love already. I'm with you, Betty. I just loved this card. I was super, super happy with how it came out. Okay, but we are going to add another greeting on top of it. And another one in here that I just loved was "You are loved today and always," which obviously you could use for Valentine's Day, but you could use for pretty much any day, right? So, but this is another example of, hey, that's something that's out there that's not Valentine's specific, but it certainly could be used for that. So, and I believe I've mentioned this tip before, especially with sentiment sets. When you have a lot of sentiments like this, if you are just scattering your stamps inside, you're like trying to read them all backwards and all the different fonts, and it's kind of tough to find them. So when we put our labels on and get our stamps organized, we actually put them in the same order inside as they are on the front of the case. And that way I'm like, oh, it's middle of that left row, so I know where to find it. So that's a little tip. I'm full of the tips. Okay. Let's see, does this one fit? Yes. Okay. So this one, I think I could probably eyeball, but I'm still going to do my little trick of lining my block up with a grid line, and then I will line the bottom of my stamps right up with a grid line. So I should have a pretty straight greeting. We will grab our polished pink again, because I want to coordinate with the ribbon. One of my Post-it notes just fell down. So distracted. So then when I'm going to stamp as well, I will line my cardstock up with one of those grid lines, and then I can line my block up again, move that over a little bit, and I know I'm going to get it straight. Nice. When you have tiny words like this too, it's very important not to smash down on your stamp, because usually it'll be kind of globby and things like that. You don't want that. You just want very light but firm pressure, and that's it. Okay, let me clean that one. That's funny, buddy. You're coming up with all the good ones tonight. We were just talking about this last weekend. No, the day you go shopping for the candy is the day after Valentine's Day. Just like December 26th is when you get all the good Christmas candy. We all know that. Day after Easter. Go get those Cadbury eggs. I used to love my Cadbury eggs, and I think I might have finally reached the age where they might be too sweet for me. I could probably still want one though. I do love them. And you only get them that time of year, and I think that's brilliant, because I like want one because you can only get it at Easter time. So, okay, another trick for you that I learned from my friend Jamie. And that is, if you'll notice, I have these cool little slanted ends to my sentiment layer. And they are identical, slant, diagonal, whatever you want to call them. And this is how we did it. So the first one, I just kind of go, okay, that looks good, boom. So it used to be that people would tell me, oh, take that and like flip it over and put it on the other side, and that'll give you the same. Yeah, Jamie had a much better idea. You turn this around and you line it up with one of these lines on your trimmer, and then the other side will be the exact same angle. Voila! That is a much better way to do that. One of the best tips I've ever got. Yeah, they are pretty sweet, but oh, they're so good. Okay, so now a fun little ribbon trick, because I did not tie a bow, even though it kind of looks like a bow behind there. Hey, Lucia. We are getting towards the end here, but I've got a couple of stepped up versions, so you're in time for that. So how I did my ribbon was I put a little Stampin' Seal, well, I put a whole line of Stampin' Seal on the back of my greeting, okay? That whole thing. There we go. And then I take my ribbon. I'm actually going to work with it this way so I can kind of see how my ribbon is looking as I'm going. And I'm just going to take it and stick, and then I'll loop it and stick, and then I'll loop it again and stick. And there we go. It's all good and just stuck back there, and it looks like a pretty bow, but I didn't have to tie anything. How awesome is that? And it gives you plenty of time to mess with it and fiddle until you get it just how you want it. And I'm going to be very careful and not cut myself, because we all remember that. Thank goodness I didn't do it on camera, at least. I hate to traumatize anybody. It was traumatizing enough for me. Okay, so this is going to be up on dimensionals, but here's the cool thing. These dimensionals are also going to help hold that ribbon on the back. So I'm just putting little slits in either side of this end one, because this is all just dimensionals too. So I'll put that whole line right over my ribbon, and that will also hold my entire greeting up. And we'll just decide where we want that. There we go. A little bit different. So see how the ribbon turned out a little bit different? This one's a little more poofy. It's exuberant maybe. Oh yeah, it's a great way to do ribbon. I love it. And I know I've seen other people do it, and that's how I got it, because I don't know that I would have figured that out myself, but that's what I'm here for. pass on those tips to you guys. Okay, so that's our card. I mean, seriously, it was that easy. Just make your own designer paper, quick greeting, snip, snip, little ribbon, we're done. So that's awesome right there. But I promised you 2 stepped up versions. Let me find them here. So another thing that I heard at my on stage I went to in Indianapolis, a friend of mine, Jennifer, was presenting. And so in Stampin' Up, we have some lingo where it's simple stamper or beginner, and then we have casual crafter, and then we have avid stamper. So your beginner or simple stamper is like stamps, ink, paper, that's pretty good, right? Your casual crafter, which I identify with, is, yeah, they want to use dies and punches, but they're not like over the top. They're, they're in that middle ground where it's like not too much, but they want to go above just the basics. And then you have the avid crafter who wants to pull out like everything in their stash and put it on a project. And one of the reasons that I am not an avid crafter is because I don't do that collage thing as well as many other people. So usually I end up putting too much on. But my friend Jennifer had a really cool way of looking at it, because the presenters were given the directive, or the guidelines of making a simple and a casual and an avid project of the same thing. So she started with her avid, and she says when she wants to simplify it, she takes away 3 things, and that made it casual. And then from casual, she took away 3 things, and that made it simple. And so what I did was I started with my simple, and I added 3 things. So here we added the double oval punch. So, and because this greeting would not fit in the oval, I just went with the with much love. So we added the double oval punch. I still have that ribbon. I still have the same background. I added those pastel sequins that I've been loving. I think this is 3 or 4 weeks in a row you've seen them. And the other thing I added, let's see if we can get it here, is the Wink of Stella, the glitter brush. I added that to all of the Flirty Flamingo hearts to give it a little extra shimmer. So that is your casual version. And then I went avid, and I'm telling you, the whole add 3 things, that helped me so much. So we now have stamps, ink, and paper. We had the double oval punch. We added those sequins. We added the Wink of Stella. Now to this one, I added heat embossing for our background words. I embossed those in gold. Gives some added shimmer on top of the Wink of Stella there. You can also see that I added dry embossing with an embossing folder. That's the metal plate embossing folder. And I added a cool border going through here with the basic borders dies. I switched out the sequins to the gold ones to match the gold embossing, but it's the same embellishment, just a different color. So there's your 3 different versions of this same card. Obviously have the same vibe about them. It's just a matter of what is your style of stamping, right? Do you want to go simple, casual, or avid? So there's something for everybody, right? A big, big difference between the 3. I love that. Yes, Lucia, the theory of adding or subtracting 3 things, that really helped me, because as I say, this middle lane is really where I'm riding there all the time. It takes a lot for me to make a simple card, but this one I felt like the background, it was really easy to make a simple because the background was what shined. But the avid was tough for me, and so to just add 3 things, that was something that was so much easier. So if you've ever wanted to level up your stamping, take what you already work with and then say, okay, what 3 things could I add to this? And this is another idea I see all the time, is stamping and then doing the dry embossing with an embossing folder after you've stamped. And it really makes such a difference and adds so much texture. So very, very cool. Couple other things I wanted to mention. Celebration. I want to remind everybody, we are still in celebration till the end of February, but these also are while supplies last. So even though we've got all these fabulous things that I've shown you over the last few weeks, things are probably going to start running out. So make sure that you are looking at that. For every $50 or $100 you order, you get to pick out a freebie, and they're awesome. Betty, I like the casual too. Absolutely. And sometimes an over the top is just super fun. But I think as much as I craft, that's probably why I craft casual, because, you know, I work a full-time job. I have my business. We have grandkids, blah, 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 right? I don't have time to make an over the top all the time. And I could certainly groove on that casual vibe. So the other thing I wanted to remind you of is it's the last few days to make sure you are subscribed for Paper Pumpkin. This is our monthly subscription kit, crafting kit. It comes right to your mailbox. It's fabulous. And this one is the Create Your Sunshine kit, and it coordinates with a fun suite in the mini catalog, the Rain or Shine suite, which I know Lucia is a big fan of. Lucia got to demonstrate this at her local on-stage event. So, but look at that, super cute turtles and bunnies and foxes, and there's dies to match and everything. So if you get the February kit, then you could purchase this suite or any of the products in here, and you could enhance your crafting with your stamp set. You could change the kit altogether. That's the one thing is with the kits, you can do them just as is. If you just need a quick, I don't have to think, somebody did it all for me and I just need to stamp and put it together, perfect for that. But if you also like to just get new stuff every month and then do what you want with it, you can certainly take those products and run with them. And the stamp sets are exclusive to Paper Pumpkin kits, so you can't buy them outside of those kits. All righty. So I think that's about all we've got. Let me come up here so we can talk a little bit. So Paper Pumpkin, the deadline every month is the 10th of the month, which is, which day is the 10th, guys? Is that Friday? I believe it's Friday. So yes, the 10th of the month, every month, is the deadline for signing up for Paper Pumpkin. You just go to paperpumpkin.com and you can sign up either for monthly and just pop in your credit or debit card and they'll just bill you on like the 11th or 12th of every month. And you can cancel or suspend it anytime you want. It's fabulous. Or you can buy prepaid subscriptions on my regular shopping link, which is up in the video description, but it's right there. You can go to my online shop and you can buy 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, or 12-month prepaid Paper Pumpkin subscriptions. When you do that, you'll get an email with a code. You do need to go to paperpumpkin.com and sign up with that code in order to activate it. You make sure to do that by the 10th in order to get that month's kit. But the cool thing too about the prepaids is that if you get the 3, 6, or 12-month, you will qualify for freebies from Celebration. So this is a really great month to do that as well. Those also make great gifts because you can send that code to anybody anywhere in the US and say, oh, here's your free crafting gift. Great Valentine's gift for the last minute ones, right? Just get a 1 month prepaid code and send it to your Valentine. So, all right, I'm going to leave you with this because Betty's reminding you that tomorrow is Send a Card to a Friend Day. Remember to send your cards tomorrow. Thanks, Betty. Until next week, I'm still Nan Gerlitz. Happy stamping.